Will you keep letting them in, please?
Yes. Yep.
All righty. How is everyone? Everyone having a good day, good night, good weekend, everything good? You know what day it is, right? The topic tonight is going to be the next 24 hours, obviously. It's the end of the month and there's just a lot of things that are going on. And what April and I are going to talk to you about tonight is it could get very, especially if you're new, but even if you're not used to working a business like this the way it's supposed to be worked, um, you could get confused with all of the different incentive things that are going on simultaneously. And like just on this call, and I forget, and Fred and his team is so great about it, but not everything goes back and forth between the US and Canada. Okay. Sometimes Canada has their own promotions, and sometimes Europe has their own promotions. And obviously, we're here in the United States. But the one thing you got to get used to in this business is there are certain times when your time is so much more valuable working the business than other times. Okay. And I'm not saying it's not always good to be doing business. It is, but there's certain times you gotta pay dividends. Okay. You gotta do your part because they're multipliers. Okay, like what you do in the next 24 hours because of the promotions that are going on and the promotions that are ending and the value of carrying momentum into April and taking advantage of the things that are going to be announced and given and surprised us with at Global, the global convention coming up in Salt Lake City. Everything is tied together. And the one thing I'd like you to get used to when you see, let's say a global, okay, and we're going to talk about global in a minute, but you should plan on being at global if you're not already planning on being there. And it's still 4 weeks away, right? You still got plenty of time to coordinate it. And you say, well, I just joined. Why do I need to go to global? Let me ask you a question. Do you want to see the big picture and never forget it and be able to speak with more clarity to your customers and prospects? You're very, very fortunate to have Global coming up in 4 weeks if you're new in the business. April and I were brand new in the business 32 years ago when we joined our first company. And we were listening to this former truck driver from Tennessee that we could barely understand his accent. We're bad enough being from New York with our accent, and we're trying to understand a truck driver from Tennessee, with his accent. And he just said this to me, and we had just joined. He said, "We have a big meeting coming up in Atlanta in 2 weeks, and you need to be there." And I said, "I just joined." And he said, "That's why you need to be there. And you need to see the big picture because you're not seeing how big this could be. And once you've been in a bigger fishbowl, you'll never go back to the smaller fishbowl." And you've heard me tell stories about my turtle. I have two turtles that are 25 years old that were a birthday present for my 5 year old who's about to turn 30. Okay. And he was interested in those turtles and that bowl for a week. And then they became Bobby's turtles. And that went to a 10-gallon tank and a 20-gallon tank and a 40-gallon tank and eventually a 100-gallon tank. And you get as big as the tank you're in. Yeah, I'm comparing us to fish or turtles right now. Okay, I am. You get as big as the tank you're in. Your vision gets as big as what you see. And the one thing that's cool about vision is it never shrinks. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You've heard the term, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, once you squeeze it out. Well, vision in this business is the same thing. It's so important that you see a big picture early on because it allows you to explain what you've joined or what you've started or the business, okay, that you're now involved in, it allows you to share it more with more clarity with everybody you talk to. And even more important than that, you share it with enthusiasm and excitement that's coming from your heart because you witnessed it. You were there. You experienced it. You've heard me talk about like tonight, there's, I don't know, 40 of us, 50 of us here on Zoom, and you're participating, you're in it. When I wave at you, you wave back. Okay. We're participating, we're interacting with each other. This is always more powerful and more effective than somebody watching the replay 3 days from now and they weren't one of the Hollywood squares. They weren't in it. They didn't participate. I'm not saying they don't get the same information, they do, but the feel behind it of being in it and participating in it's a completely different thing. So if you haven't considered going to global, it's in Salt Lake City. It's where our headquarters is. If you're new, if you're old and you've been around a long time, maybe it's time to get refreshed. Okay, it's time for a tune-up to get refreshed. No two are ever the same. No information is ever duplicated. Okay, and I can tell you this. There's a couple rumors out there. There's a rumor there's some sort of really cool sports product coming out. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just repeating rumors, folks. I'm a distributor, a consultant just like you are, all right? But it's kind of what we heard. And we heard they may be announcing a new incentive trip because the Alaska trip ends this month, okay, qualifying for it. And there's rumor that they may announce a new one at Global. But there's always going to be some surprises. There's always going to be a sale on products that you can get when you're there in person. There's all kinds of things that happen. So if you haven't considered, please do. Okay, please consider. I know most of the people that are on here that have been around a little while, we're probably going to see you there. You're in, you're generally there. That's why you're tuned in now. Okay, you know the value of being there live, and we're looking at each other from all over the world, and we get that chance once or twice a year to be in the same place live at the same time. Okay, and there's a lot of value in doing that. So what I want to do is bring up a slide and just go over what we need to do to close out the month. Okay, and I'm going to start and I'm going to give it to April, but let me just do this. Okay. So, you know, there's two things going on as we're closing out the month, okay? We're closing out March, okay? But one of the most important things we could do, I don't care if this month was a bummer. I don't care if you didn't have a good month like a lot of other people did, okay? You always want to end a month on a high note, okay? That could be just getting a new customer tomorrow. That could be getting a new consultant tomorrow. That could be reaching out to 5 or 6 people that you haven't talked to recently. You want to go into the new month with momentum. And momentum comes in all shapes and sizes, folks, all shapes and sizes. It's not just because you enrolled a bunch of people. It's not just because maybe your volume increased, maybe your volume decreased. Who knows? But you want that last 24 hours to be an upper and carry that into a new month, because what happens early in a month allows for things to get real big at the end of a month. And this is going to be a really cool month because it's global. Okay, we're going to Salt Lake City for our global event, April 24, 5, and 6. Again, I'll talk to that. That's at the bottom of the slide. But, you know, momentum is important. So even if you didn't accomplish your goals in March, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your team and your teammates. You owe it to your customers, okay, to end the month on a high note. So you start the new month, okay, with momentum. Momentum is so important in this business. So obviously tonight and tomorrow is the last day to qualify for Alaska cruise. Okay. We've been doing this for 6 or 8 months now, 9 months. I don't even know how long we've been doing it. Most of the year, we've been doing qualifying for this, and this is it. So I'm excited. April and I have made it. I know Kenneth has made it. And then I know there's 2 or 3 more people that have over 200 points that can still make it. Okay. But go for it, do the best you can, and then it's a new month. Okay. So if you were with us last week, we had Skylar on, and Skylar Fobbs, who's in charge of the United States with marketing and sales and all that good stuff. He did a great job explaining the share bonus and how they were going to pay us double for 3 months. Okay, they were going to pay us double for 3 months, April, May, and June. And what do I mean by pay us double? On anything, the one thing the company always tries to do when they're doing incentives, you make sure it's equal for everybody. What does that mean? Well, if I signed up Mary today, and April and I have been in the business for 7 years, and we have 2 businesses, executive businesses we're building and stuff. Mary and April and I, we are equal when they announce that there's a new bonus or a new incentive trip available. They never count, okay, what you've already built. They count what you personally do. So that makes everybody equal. Okay, so what is this double your pay? Well, for the next 3 months, you can earn double your pay on every personally sponsored consultant for the next 3 months. So how do you get it? Well, when they announced it, it was March 15th. So you had from March 15th to March 31st to get 300 points, okay, in personal business. Now, that could be new customers, that could be new consultants, but you have to have personally enrolled them, not in order for somebody on your team, not somebody on your team doing it, not somebody you sponsored last month or the month before, okay? Somebody that you sponsored between March 15th and March 31st. And if you get 300 points, okay, by midnight tomorrow night, you're going to be eligible to be paid double on everything that you personally sponsor as far as consultants go for 3 months. Okay, that could be thousands of extra dollars. Okay, it will easily be hundreds of extra dollars, could easily be thousands of extra dollars. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance. Okay, you see the red names. This was a quick glance. And if I missed somebody, I'm sorry. Okay. I just did this a little while ago. I realized, people were starting to hit their 300 because they only had 2 weeks to do it. And we've done it. Kenneth's done it. Catalina, Dr. Regis done it. Dr. Goodman, Dr. Toussaint, Deanne Bouchard, Dr. Kiros, Goulet Altica, Dr. Nambusi, Dr. Deckel, Lara Barnes, Power of Health. There's a bunch. Okay, so I'm sorry if I missed the name, but April, is that exciting or what? We were talking a little bit about that, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm real excited. Deanne is brand new. She's in her second month. I think already I know SC1. And I expect she'll hit SC2 by the end of the month. So she's got 8 enrollments already. And it
Well, and
kind of
you're
reminds me,
saying, April, you're saying 2 months. It's 4 weeks. She got involved the last
right. Well, started
February.
last month and
Yeah.
finishing this month. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so she's doing a phenomenal job of just, getting new people getting started. And I like it because she's letting people, if they just want to start on product, start on product. If they want the business, start on the business. And she has a little bit experience in this industry. So, or I should say at least weight loss. So excited about what she's doing. And I like seeing Dr. Saint's name up there. I like seeing a lot of these names, to tell you the truth, because sometimes people get a little stagnant in this business, and maybe it's because, with Zoom, we've gotten off, we're not in person. Again, I can't stress global being in person. It gives you information you don't get from us from the front of the room. It's those one-on-one interactions that you have in the room, the friends that you make. This company, everybody works so well together. It's just amazing. So I can't stress that enough. But some of the people in that group there have been around a little while, and it's that constant. If you've got new people, you need to be talking to them and finding out who they know and who they can talk through. I was just on the phone with somebody a little bit earlier, and for somehow she has a spa, does facials and stuff. But sometimes we get stuck on it's only the people we know. And we've got a weight loss product, we've got a collagen product now. And even if you're the quietest person in the world using these products, people are going to ask you, what are you doing? Well, you know what? That doesn't stop there. That next person is using the product and it works through another person that'll finally say to somebody, what are you doing? So, we can speed it up by letting people know what we're doing, being more vocal about it, being more visible about it on Facebook or something. But ultimately, if you can get people using the products, getting the testimony, and I know Dr. Toussaint was one that, she'd used some of the shots and was really sick on the shots and had to come off the shots. And she just feels like a new woman. And listening to her testimony is just tremendous. There's probably not a person around her that isn't going to want to use the products. And so, it's amazing the results, but 300 points really isn't a lot if you think about it. You go out and you get a few customers. It doesn't even have to be a consultant. This is certainly a time where the products work for us, but the end of the month is that follow-up time. See who's got maybe 2 customers. Maybe they don't even know about the promo. Maybe they're not one of the 41 people that's on this Zoom today. Maybe they don't know, maybe their head is in the sand. Maybe they're not on Sunday nights. Maybe they don't catch up, and listen to the replays and stuff. But this is follow-up time. This is time to see maybe who's close to that 300 points, who's close to seller titles. So often when we look, people are super, super close to those seller titles. So, they could be at 500 or just a little below. They could be at 999 and not quite the 1,000, and you pick up another 5% on all your sales for the whole month or 10% on that whole month. Go back and look at those seller titles to make sure nobody is close. Look at your declines, also you can go that and see whose credit cards didn't go through. I mean, the spamming and stuff that goes on with credit cards is at an all-time high. It's like everybody's got to get new cards all the time. So, do them a favor and you can say, do you want me to do that? Or do you want me to help you do that? So just, get it done so you can get their new credit card. But, make sure their subscription ran with the sale, the 20 to 30% off. Just think about this. Think about who you knew that got free product from the company. Over the last 2 years, the company has sent out Axio free of charge. I've had customers say, I got stuff I didn't order, like they had to pay for it. And I'm like, no, you didn't pay for it. It was a gift. They sent out vitamin D3. They sent out Omega. They sent out plenty of hand cream. Sunscreen. They've sent out a lot of product as gifts for people when they got started, when they were customers with us. So think back to when your customers said that they got a gift and let them know they can get 20% off now. Let them know that they can get those products at a discount. Makes a big difference. When I was seeing the numbers in the shopping cart, like fat burn, instead of $62, it brought it down to $49. Well, that's under 50. That's a mark that people can deal with. $50 that it's funny how we're all like, if it was $51, they're like, oh no, but because it's 49, they're happy with it. Let them know what that discounted price is. Don't just say 20% off. Give them an idea of what that's going to look like, because that always excites people, a lot of it. But it's a busy time. It's an exciting time. Look at who's close to rank advancement in your organization. This is a time where there's lots of reasons to be able to reach out to those that aren't around you in your, in your organization, that live in different towns, states, countries. And it's so cool because the share bonus is worldwide. I mean, I think Japan's got a few different rules, but you and Canada, everybody's got the same promo there, which is a really cool promo to make use of. And as you're thinking about this and using it, just think about this is the program they use for new people when they get started. This is our Get Started program. So now we're all going to know it really, really well because we're personally redoing it all again. So it's just an exciting time, and I hope we do see everyone at Global. It's going to be a great convention. We're looking forward to it. Bobby?
Yeah, if you have paid attention at all, we have a sale going on right now. And again, if you're new, um, the weight loss product, the MB products, the collagen products, and the Protandim products, they never go on sale. So don't be waiting for a sale with them. Those are our staples. Those are our three big activators, okay? And they never go on sale, but there's 20 or 25 other products that are also activators. The Axio, the skincare line it's the best skincare line in the world, okay? The hair care line, and they're all 20 to 30% off through tomorrow at midnight. So, the one thing you want to do at the end of the month, I know we all like to post, okay, on, Instagram, whatever, TikTok, Facebook, social media. Texting has made us all very, very lazy. Texting took over for email. And now people don't even bother setting up their voicemail. When they get a phone, they don't even set it up anymore. This is the time for phone calls, folks. This is the time to reach out and say, "Hey, did you hear? I'm not sure if you got the email." And it's a good line to use. I'm not sure if you got the email from the company, but just about all of the product line is 20 to 30% off. And you had mentioned the hair care in the past. You'd mentioned the skin care in the past. You had mentioned the Axio in the past. You mentioned the fat burn, and it's a good way to open it up after you say, "How you doing? We haven't spoken in a while," and get familiar with each other again. Okay. But this is a good time for phone calls, not text or post. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying this is the time where phone calls are very valuable. Okay. And the thing that's nice about the phone call is you could even say, "Hey, I'm reaching out because the sale ends at midnight. And I'm not sure you saw the email or not." Okay. So now it sounds you're calling out of compassion, you're calling out of caring, you're calling, and you don't want them to miss the opportunity to save 20 or 30%. And it's just a good time to do that. And guess what? It's a good time that you earn money. I mean, you're building your business, you're earning money. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in our business. April and I have been working on some new projects. We've been working on some advertising stuff. We've been working on some niche marketing. We're excited about a lot of different things. But one of the place, April got a sculpting place started. Where they do sculpting. I don't even know how to call it, what to call it, because I don't go in for sculpting. Women generally do. So, but she got somebody started about 6 months ago, and I was just looking. I said, your friend JL over there in Orlando, I don't know, Orlando or Maitland, somewhere here in Central Florida. I said she's got 6 new customers already this month. And we got this group down in Miami. And this is how you got to learn to work with your team. And I've heard Banta go back and forth, but Dr. Gordon, many of you know Donna Gordon. She called a couple months back and she said, "Hey, I got a new doctor joining down in Miami." And, she's really excited and she's got a busy practice. She does a lot of cash type of services. And I'd like to get you on the phone with her, do a three-way call, which we did. And it was when meetings were going on. There was a lot of activation meetings. So April and I said, and we were busy. We had just gotten back from a meeting in Chicago on a Friday morning, and we're going to drive down to Miami the same day. But they had the time to come, and she brought her office staff, And it was a great meeting. It's Tara Wilson. Tara's freaking awesome. Okay. So she did a great meeting. And these people are starting to crank it up now, and it's funny because April and I work with her. 'Cause we've always told the doctors, and Dr. Goodman knows this very well. So, April signs people up for him all the time. With the doctors, that could be Dr. Toussaint also, they know during the day, and we know during the day, they're working, they're seeing patients. So we've always offered to be their time when they're doing their day job. Okay. And that of course is seeing patients. And when you start to develop that relationship, okay, a lot of really cool stuff can happen. And right now it's happening in a lot of places. So I don't know if you guys saw, we were out for a leadership meeting. It was a special meeting at LifeVantage. It was actually on my birthday back in January. And we met this lady. What's Watkins' first name? Chris, Courtney, is it?
Courtney. Yep, Courtney.
So she had been around maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 months. Don't hold me to, I don't know exactly because she's not on our team. But Courtney had been around. She had been extremely successful with another company. She came over from another company. She brought a lot of her friends with her. And we had heard, that she was moving fast and her friends were moving fast. And we actually got to meet her. She was sitting next to us at this leadership dinner after we were done with our training when we were out in Utah back in January. And had, was celebrating hitting EC2 because they had come from a weight loss company and we had just gone berserk with the MB GLP-1 product line. Super, super excited. And a couple days ago, she just hit EC3. Okay. I believe she's been here less than a year. Okay. I'm not sure of that, but EC3, executive consultant 3, okay, that's a minimum of $300,000 in business in a month. Okay. And that's less than a year. And you say, how does that happen? Well, number one, she had 10 years experience in a weight loss company and she came over from another company. Okay. So yes, she brought people with her, but the magic in what they're doing is working warm market through warm market through warm market. And if you don't know what warm market is, it's people or people who know other people. Okay. It's networking through warm market. And a lot of their warm market is on social media. A lot of their warm market is through influencers. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is you don't know who somebody knows. And that's why you always have to ask. And one of my favorite lines, and April says it all the time with Tara Wilson, is who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? It don't necessarily always need to be you, but who do you know? And we're starting to get into that with some of these people. I had two new people start up under this doctor in Miami just this last week. And I'm like, wow, they're pretty exciting people. You get to know them a little bit, talk to them. I've text back 40 or 50 times with them, been on Zooms with them. And I'm like, wow, there's no telling what this could lead to. Okay. And a lot of it seems to come out of left field, but it doesn't, folks. It was just some networking and networking and networking. And what happens in this business is it comes in flurries. I wish it was always just, oh, one a day, one a day, one a day. I'll sign up one a day. Okay. No, it doesn't work that way. It comes in flurries. You just keep doing the do, and it comes in flurries. So here we are, we're at the end of the month, and we're going into the month that what we call global. Okay. And what do you want to do when you know there's incentives coming up? And here's another thing, if you knew, that the company always does. They're going to announce whatever they're going to announce at global, and it's going to start. And a lot of times it's retroactive to the first day of the month. Okay, I can't speak for them. I'm not gonna look, I'm an independent distributor just like you, but I know after 7 years, and some of you guys been here 10, 12, 14 years. Okay, a lot of times when they announce something at Global, whether it's a trip, whether it's a new bonus or incentive or something they're doing special, a lot of times it's retroactive, which means if you close out March with momentum and you start working in April, you may be very surprised at what happens at Global because we never know what they're going to say or do because they make a habit of keeping things quiet and so they can surprise us. Okay. They like to do that. So, like April said, it's a very, very exciting time. I want to stop the slide share and get back to you. So I like looking at you much better than I like looking at the slides. But we got one more day in the month, okay, and then we start the new month. So let's all challenge ourselves to get some enrollments done tomorrow and carry momentum into April and plan on being, and if you're not planning on being at Global, because I'm just mentioning it and you're brand new, you got 4 weeks. Okay, it's April 24, 5, and 6, Thursday, Friday, Saturday of April. Okay, I guess I think it's the weekend after Easter, but don't hold me to that. I believe it is. Um, and let's have a big month. Let's finish this, which already been a great month, March, okay, but let's go into April and have a big month and carry the momentum. So, April, was there anything in the chat that you need to address?
No, no, but do make mention to that article in Newsweek.
Go ahead.
Well, just it's on the hub. So go into the latest. I think it's like the third thing down, but it was a great article again, which again I use it to share with either newer consultants or new people that you're looking to get involved in the business, customers, old customers to refresh them. One of the things with taking particularly Protandim and some of the things to stay healthy, they may forget the benefits of why they're taking them. So you need to keep that in front of them. So I like to send that as a reminder, particularly the NRF2, the NRF1, and the NAD in particular. So just a great article. I
And
just like to.
if you haven't seen the article, it's Lisa Barnes and Julie Boyster. I mean, how
Yeah,
could you go wrong? They're both fabulous when it comes to product stuff.
yeah. Yeah, it's just a great overview of the company and why we're different. And I think the more you can keep in front of people why we're different than just traditional supplementation, the more happier they'll be, and the more the more comfortable you are with talking about the products, the easier it is. And I'm talking about your customer. The easier it is for the customer to tell somebody else why they should be on this product. And we get a lot of referrals through our customers. So, and that's something we always thank our customers too when they do a little referral for us. We always appreciate that. But nothing better than a happy customer for me.
And we posted that on a Facebook group and in the messenger groups. But if for some reason you didn't get it or you need it, just text and we'll get it to you. Make sure someone in your upline sends it downline. So anyway, that's it. We got 24 hours, maybe 30 hours. We got to midnight tomorrow night to close it out and then start fresh again. So anyway, have a great evening. Thanks for joining and we'll see you and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.